He doesn't believe me that we're starting the podcast right now, and we're gonna be starting the podcast. So get your fucking belt ready and put your shoes on, tie it up, tie your shoes up, tie them up. Left lace first, then the right lace second. I lost my fucking mojo, dude. Killed my mojo. Are you starting us?
No, you got it.
Here I am, just a little boy inside the woods, playing my fantasy lineup. Welcome to Average Bros, episode 49, Average Bros Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host with the most and a lot to boast. My name is Michael Marcanio, and I'm here with my good friend here, Tyler Revelis. And we're going to tell you who you're going to have to pick up this week, okay? Because it's week 13 coming up. What does that mean? It means the playoffs are right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
It's pretty horny, dude, if you ask me. This week is the last waiver wire week of the regular season. You got to clinch those playoffs. Got to get in there. So this is very important, I think.
Super important. A lot of people are on the cusp of making the playoffs, and even if you're like, say you're like guaranteed to make the playoffs, you're like, oh, I'm gonna get a 1 seed, I'm gonna get a 2 seed, make the first round bye. Don't sleep on some of these players. Don't get comfortable, or complacent with your team. You can always make improvements, or you could always go out there and like pick up players and block other teams.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because if you prevent someone from getting somebody, and then you end up playing them in the championship and they beat you, or you were able to prevent that player from putting up points against you. Yeah. Just science, dude. You know what I mean?
It's science, bro.
But let's get started. We'll just jump right into it. Do you want to go over any of these games, or you want to just go get into it?
I think it's time to pad the wire.
Yeah, it definitely is time for that. You know why?
I mean, we could talk about the Monday night game, but it's pretty simple. Lamar Jackson's the GOAT. Jared Goff sucks.
Yeah.
All right, time to pad the wire.
Yeah. Jared Goff is not very good. He doesn't look like the same player last year.
Dude, he honey dicked the Rams. Got $110 million.
He truly did honey dick the Los Angeles Rams.
He did, for sure.
Okay. Well, speaking of quarterbacks, let's talk about some quarterbacks that you're trying to get on your team this week.
Let's talk about it.
Who's your number one quarterback ad? Or you go with whatever you want to go with first.
I guess just, it's kind of, I feel like when you talk about waiver wire quarterbacks, it's kind of like quarterbacks you're picking up to stream. Like if you're streaming quarterbacks on a week-to-week basis, that's kind of where the waiver wire comes in, because it's never really like a quarterback on the waiver wire where you're like, oh, I need to go get this quarterback. Although I did just read a tweet before we're doing this, and it said that someone dropped Lamar Jackson during his bye week, and someone swooped him up. And I'm just thinking, like, why would you do that? Why would you drop
anybody else?
Yeah, why would you drop Lamar Jackson on the bye week? I don't care.
That's like one of those things. It's like you must be playing with 13-year-olds or something.
Or like you said, I know you mentioned a couple times in one of your leagues, someone dropped George Kittle on the bye week.
Yeah,
thinking he could get it through, and it's like, I'm not dropping this player. I'd rather get a goose egg instead of losing the amount of points I'm going to gain 1 week picking up a filler. Compared to the amount of points I'm going to get for the season with a George Kittle or Lamar Jackson is way, way different. So
I'd
rather get a 0 than drop those guys.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say something, but I forgot.
But anyways, with that being said, just one of the guys who I like. It's Tannehill time in Tennessee. I love seeing this too because I'm a Dolphins fan, and just, seeing Tannehill, former Miami Dolphin, but he's 85% available, and I'm pretty sure he finishes the QB1 this week. Had a monster game, 2 passing touchdowns. Also ran 2 in on the ground as well. I think people keep sleeping on that as well. Like, he used to be a receiver in college, so I mean he has the ability to run the ball when he gets on the field. So obviously, when you have that rushing upside, it kind of just helps with a safe floor. I think he has in a 4-point standard passing touchdown leagues, he's got 19 or more points in every single game that he's played. And in the 5 weeks that he's been the starting quarterback for Tennessee, he's actually the QB4 in the entire league. So, I mean, you got like Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, and then maybe
Josh Allen.
I mean, I don't even know because Winston's been up and down, and then Mahomes has been hurt for a while. So, I mean, one of those guys. But then after that, it's Tannehill. So,
Right.
And then just a juicy schedule down the stretch. His next 4 games, he's at Indianapolis, so that's a good game. At Oakland, that's another juicy one. Home at Houston, that's nothing to be scared about either. And then finally, in Week 16, he's home against New Orleans. So, and then Weeks 14, 15, those are green-rated matchups. So, I mean, even if you're just like streaming him, I mean, maybe you got like someone else, you just like the matchups aren't as good. I mean, if you just want to stream Tannehill in Weeks 14 and 15, I think those matchups down the stretch are super juicy. And like I said, with the safe floor of 19 points every single game he's played, you kind of know what you're getting. He's not going to get you a goose egg. So another guy here is the Bake Show, Baker Mayfield. He's actually one of my favorite plays this week. I think he finishes the QB4 this week. I started him over like Matt Ryan and a couple other people at a couple leagues. He was on the waiver wire, picked him up. I mean, sometimes what it is like, you got to play the matchups, and sometimes it doesn't work out, the way you want it to. For instance, a couple weeks ago, Kyle Allen was at home against the Falcons, and it was a juicy matchup. So it's, I know a lot of people picked him up and streamed him, but then he came out and threw 4 picks, and you're thinking like, well, what the fuck? Like, this guy's a bum.
Right.
But sometimes when you see a matchup and it's just, it's a money matchup. Yeah, like you got the Browns. They were at home against the Dolphins, who are struggling. A ton of players on the defense are hurt. I mean, I knew he was, gonna go out there and have a good game. Landry, Odell, you got weapons too. So, but Baker Mayfield, he's 40% available, and I mean, if you go pick him up, you maybe don't play him this week because he's gonna be at Pittsburgh, and I'm pretty sure the Pittsburgh Steelers are gonna be pretty pissed off against the Browns and Baker Mayfield for what happened a couple weeks ago on Thursday night with the whole Mason Rudolph, Myles Garrett incident when he got hit the helmet. But if you pick him up, and like I said, you just want to stream him, going forward. So this next week at Pittsburgh, tough matchup. But weeks 14 and 15, those are both green-rated matchups. And when I say green-rated matchups, these are like money matchups, like the easiest matchups you want to get, for your players here. But 2 green-rated matchups in weeks 14 and 15. He's at home against the Bengals. They're just trash. And then week 15 at Arizona. They're not very good either. Week 16, it's a tough game. Home against Baltimore. So maybe you're not playing him in that week. But, I mean, if you need someone for week 14 and week 15, I think, this is some money matchups right there for Baker Mayfield.
Speaking of quarterbacks, I'm so excited. This is, like, not really fantasy related, but I'm super excited that they benched Mason Rudolph halfway through that game.
Yeah. I was reading something that, like, they should just bench him. That way he's not on the field. That way, like, the Browns can't get to him, or
I think that was almost like a strategy. They were thinking like, if this game's too close against the Bengals, let's switch it so it doesn't look weird, like it doesn't look like a political thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
For
to
sure.
Pull him out for that game. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, just a little side note.
Just a couple more guys here. You got Kirk Cousins, 45% available, coming off a bye. He's going to be playing at Seattle this week. I'm not mad at streaming it. I know in Seattle it's kind of tough to play, but their secondary isn't anything to be scared about. And just some numbers on Kirk Cousins: 20 or more points in 5 of his last 7 games. So he's been getting it done lately. He should get Adam Thielen back as well, so that should only help him, and boost his value for the week. You got Sam Darnold, 80% available. Had a monster game last week. 3 straight games with 21 or more points. And then the next 2 matchups, I think it is, he's at Cincinnati, and then he's home against Miami. Those are both green-rated matchups. So the last 2 games of the year, weeks 15, week 16, at Baltimore, and then Pittsburgh, those are tough matchups. But like I said, if you want to pick these quarterbacks up and just stream them for a couple weeks, there's some good matchups here for these quarterbacks who are widely available on the waiver wire. He likes that. He likes it. He's all about it. Pick them up. Pick them up. Any quarterbacks you like over there?
You pretty much mentioned everybody that I would speak on, to be honest. I like Kirk Cousins. I think if you can, I think you can drop Derek Carr and pick up some of these guys.
Yeah,
kind of burned you this past week.
Yeah, you know me. I hate Sid from Toy Story, so.
Yeah, me too. I mean, not as much as you, but not really a fan.
Yeah, but I mean, I wouldn't have played him this week. Didn't do very good.
Well, we used to always do the Tannehill Derek Carr comparison all the time, and look at, you know what I mean?
It's Tannehill.
Tannehill came out doing well this week.
I just like seeing him do good, man. It makes me happy because that guy would get so much shit in Miami.
You buy that jersey.
Just people are like, no, he sucks. He's not good. But like being a Dolphin fan, I would see you'd see the potential he had, but just like our offensive line in Miami is not good, and it still isn't very good. But we didn't have the team or maybe even the coaching staff or the culture that the Titans have over there. So, I mean, I thought it was a good thing for him, from a football perspective, for him to go to Tennessee.
Yeah, for
just
sure.
kind of like reviving his career right there. He's about to get paid. So he's on a 1-year deal for like $7 million or something stupid like that. So he's about to get paid.
Right.
Yeah, he's about to get paid.
I love it. Let's talk running backs. Let's get into it.
Who do you like for running backs?
I like as a late. This is. I'm just gonna go over like a late round, or late waiver wire pickup. It would be Darrell Williams. I think that he wouldn't be my number one, but I think I could get him as my second waiver pickup. Like if I'm in a situation where in our league, I need running backs bad.
Yeah.
But I know I can get maybe 2 running backs possibly just because I feel like Darrell Williams is people just coming off the bye week. You might get people not remember the fact that Damian Williams had like a rib injury.
Yeah.
And,
he might miss the game.
And McCoy had a concussion, but I think they're saying that he's going to come back though.
Yeah, but even then they were splitting carries. I think.
Yeah, and he did good with the split carries before when Damian Williams was out.
So you're gonna that's
like a lot. That's like more of like a like my later pick.
Well, I think I have my priorities ahead of yours, so looks like I'm getting Darrell Williams.
Okay,
I'm just kidding.
Dick.
Some guy I like right here actually. So the Colts coach came out and said that Marlon Mack's gonna miss this week again. So. It was kind of like, who do you pick up, Jordan Wilkins or Jonathan Williams? I was kind of on the Jonathan Williams side of like, because, he's coming off a good game. Jordan Wilkins still kind of battling, I think it's an ankle injury he was. So, but 70% available for Jonathan Williams, the Colts running back, back-to-back games with 100 or more rushing yards. And then, I mean, Naheem Hines, we were hearing a lot of things that he was going to pretty much keep his role as that third down scat back, and he kind of did. I think he had like 8 touches or something, give or take, but 20 for Jonathan Williams, 26 carries and 3 receptions, so 29 total touches. I can't imagine, a guy coming off back-to-back 100-yard rushing games for them to just be like, oh, never mind, dude. Like, we're going to throw Jordan Wilkins in here after he hasn't played in 2-3 weeks. So that'd be a guy I would want to go get. I pretty much think, in my opinion, I think Jonathan Williams has some good value here until Marlon Mack comes back. Pretty much like an RB2. I mean, if you're going to get the ball 26 times and then a couple of receptions out of the backfield as well, the volume alone, running behind a solid offensive line the Colts have right there, it's RB2 potential all day.
For sure. I just want to touch on one more thing on the Kansas City side. I actually was looking up just now. It's LaShawn McCoy is only 51% owned in Yahoo leagues.
Yeah.
So that's also if LaShawn McCoy comes back.
Yeah, because him and Darrell Williams will probably split the carries.
Yeah, and McCoy's kind of like more their feature back a little bit.
Yeah. After Damian Williams left the game, not last week because they were on a bye, but the week before that, they split the touches. McCoy had 11 touches, and Darrell Williams had 13 touches.
Yeah.
So, running back by committee there in Kansas City for sure. So, yeah, either one of those guys could be
definitely
valuable guy.
Just seeing that.
What about your boy Benny Snell Jr. here? He's 95% available.
Yeah, I like it. With James Conner, with going through his thing, they're saying that they're most likely because Juju was out with a knee and like a concussion, I think, and James Conner also was out. So they're saying if anybody's going to play, it's probably going to be Juju, like out of those injuries, over James Conner. So that being said, we've noticed like even this whole year it's been like 2 running backs in this system. They're pretty fantasy relevant. So yeah, for sure. If I would have played Benny Snell, I picked up Benny Snell in one of my leagues, I would have won.
Yeah.
I played. I don't know.
Just some injury news for the James Conner situation. So he's got an AC joint injury. I've actually suffered this injury personally, and I still kind of like it still bothers me till this day.
Really?
This happened probably like 10, 12 years ago that I hurt my shoulder, but it's basically where like your collarbone is connected to your shoulder socket with like some ligaments or whatnot, and those ligaments, they pretty much just rip. So now your collarbone is kind of like hanging out. It's not like attached or hanging down in the shoulder socket. So this was an extremely painful injury for me. Like I couldn't move my arm like up or down. I couldn't imagine like landing on it or like having these, 250-pound, 300-pound linemen running at me full speed, just trying to slam me into the ground, ramming their helmet into me. Like I couldn't imagine that at that time when I hurt my shoulder. So if he's got a grade 3, which is the worst grade you can get, it's a 1, 2, or 3 grade, he could be missing some severe time here. So
yeah, and then they got Cleveland, Arizona, Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
Jets.
And just one thing I kind of noticed with the whole Benny Snell thing was, so there's been 2 games where James Conner hasn't been there, and it's been Benny Snell and Jalen Samuels. And in those 2 games, the first game, Benny Snell had 17 carries, and then in this last game, 21 carries. So he's like the running back. He actually out-touched Jalen Samuels 22-5 this last game.
I think Jalen Samuels just like better PPR-wise.
I think Jalen Samuels is kind of like that. I want to say like a Naheem Hines kind of role. You know, he's that scat back. Like
J.D. McKissick.
He's a former tight end in college, so he's got some good receiving skills. But as far as like a running back, he's like a converted player into a running back. Where, you know, Benny Snell obviously is a running back. And I feel like, you know, you have James Conner, who's actually had a good year last year. And then, you know, Jalen Samuels obviously down the stretch last year was doing pretty good. And even this year he's had a couple good games. But I feel like if they were sold on like those running backs, like why would you go out and draft another running back if you were so confident in those guys? So just something to keep an eye on. But I mean, I think as long as James Conner's out, I think Benny Snell is going to be the guy there. And I mean, I know you said Mason Rudolph got benched. It's going to be, what's his name, Duck Hodges?
Devlin Hodges, but they call him Duck.
Devlin Duck Hodges, yeah. I mean, pretty much the third string quarterback here, and I would like to think that Tomlin's smart enough to think like, you know, I'd rather run the ball 20-plus times instead of have my quarterback throw the ball 30, 40 times. Especially
no Marquise Pouncey.
Yeah. And in a game, I think they play the Browns.
Next.
Okay, so yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you don't want him to turn the ball over. Maybe just, you know, keep the passing to a minimum is what I'm trying to say here. So I think Benny Snell could be in line for another 15-plus touch a game. Then obviously if he falls into the end zone, could be a good sneaky play here for you guys.
I like it. There's some good, interesting running backs this week.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about Rashad Penny?
I mean, yeah, Rashad Penny, 72% available. I mean, what's your thoughts on him?
To be honest, I haven't been paying too much to the Seattle, watching Seattle games. So I don't know off the top of my head, but it seems like he's being, this past week you were happy if you sat on Rashad Penny. Yeah. I'm sure not very many people played him, to be honest.
Yeah, I doubt anyone even played him.
What was that? 129 yards on 14 carries and a touchdown.
Yeah, broke off a long touchdown run. I mean, pretty much the only reason he got in the game is because Chris Carson fumbled. I think he fumbled twice, back-to-back carries he fumbled.
Yeah, Chris Carson really just cannot stop fumbling the ball.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. This is kind of murky here. It's like I don't know if I trust.
Here's the thing:
Rashad
why I don't like it is because they're playing the Eagles this next week. I think. Or no, they just played the Eagles. Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Oh.
Got a wolf in the other room.
They're playing Minnesota though. Next.
Yeah, we got a wolf in the other room.
Yeah, I know.
Jesus Christ.
I don't think you could hear it as much as we think we can.
But yeah, I don't know if I'm sold on Rashad Penny. I mean, maybe if I'm a Chris Carson owner, then I'd be going out to try to get Rashad Penny. But I mean, I'm not going to get Rashad Penny and throwing him into my lineup because watch me throw him in my lineup, and then now Chris Carson gets 15 carries and Rashad Penny gets 10, and it's, you know, if he doesn't break off this long touchdown run, you know, it's not a good fantasy day here. So I'll let someone else buy that landmine and
for sure,
you know, have it explode on their team instead of me. But what about like Bo Scarborough, the Lions running back? He's 52% available. Back-to-back games, 14 carries and 18 carries the last 2 games, like I said.
It's not like the preferred amount of carries. Like, it is a decent amount of carries, but it's not like, obviously you love to see it in the 20 range. I guess 18 is actually pretty close. So just the Lions running backs. I don't know how I feel about Lions running backs, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I'll let someone else, like I said, buy that landmine because, I mean, yeah, 14 carries and 18 carries, you like seeing that. You get a goal line work, you like seeing that. But I don't think he has any catches, or he might only have 1 catch. But I mean, that's just not a good offense. You know, Matt Stafford is out. They're thinking about shutting him down for the whole year because of the back injury.
Yeah,
I'm not sold on Driscoll. It's just not a good offense.
Plus, Jeff Driscoll, like, he tries to run the ball a little bit.
Yeah. So I'm just not sold on it. I'll let someone else, like I said, buy that landmine, and I'll avoid it. And I'd rather go get a guy like Benny Snell over Scarborough or Rashad Penny.
How much fab would you put on Benny Snell?
Just depending on how much I have. I mean, it's kind of tough because it's totally week 15. I mean, if I had one of the top waiver priorities and I was kind of struggling at running back, I'd probably try to get him if I could because, like I said, you just don't know the James Conner situation. I mean, I'd probably try to look into it a little bit more if you can. But I think he's not trending in the right direction. Like I said, I've had that injury before, and it's pretty painful.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think Benny Snell is probably the best one to pick up this week for running backs.
Yeah, he would be my number one running back. Well, actually, Jonathan Williams, my bad. 70% available.
Yeah, if Jonathan Williams isn't gone.
But then Benny Snell would be a guy who I like.
For sure. For sure, 7 years ago. Let's talk about wide receivers, baby.
Wide receivers. Let's talk about my boy Devontae Parker. I love talking about him. Just like I love talking about Tannehill. I love talking about Devontae Parker. I'm such a homer, but 38% available. So he's more owned than not, but still 38% available. So he's out there in some leagues. He's actually wide receiver 23 on the year. So he's basically, if you're in a 10 or a 12-man league, he's a wide receiver 2 for you. And I mean, if you're in a 3 wide receiver league or a double flex league, like this guy needs to be owned. 8 straight games with 11 or more PPR points. Let me say that again. 8 straight games with 11 or more PPR points. It's like, what more do you want from a guy? Like, you throw him in there, you know you're going to get 11 points minimum, PPR-wise. And then just some good numbers on Devontae Parker. His next 3 games are all green-rated matchups. I think since Preston Williams went out with a torn ACL, because it was kind of like 1A, 1B, Devontae Parker and Preston Williams. But since he's gone out, the targets for him have been like 10, 10, and 8. So he's getting all the targets. And when Fitzmagic is back there, slinging the rock, kind of just like force-feeding him the ball, I mean, he's a big body guy who can, high point, and get those 50-50 contested plays. He's got some good hands too, so he can make some like pretty tough catches as well. So I just don't understand why he's still like so widely available. He needs to be more up in like the 80s or even like 90% available because, I mean, he's, like I said, 8 straight games with 11 or more points. I just don't get it.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where people are just so used to not, or maybe they've played Parker or had Parker previous year, He's kind of burned them. I feel like that's maybe why.
Yeah. I think people sometimes get too caught up in the name of a player and not looking at the numbers. I mean, you got to think at the end of the day, fantasy football, all it is numbers.
Yeah, for sure.
So
that's why some people like don't even watch football. They're kind of like nerds, and then they end up doing pretty good at fantasy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you got to follow the trend of the numbers, like Jay-Z says, men lie, women lie. The numbers don't lie.
Yeah, they do not.
So the numbers are good.
The numbers are good.
Pick them up. Who's someone you like?
Well, Cole Beasley is only 29% owned.
That's another guy I don't understand how.
That's 29% owned. He ended up putting up, I think, like 20 points this past week in full point PPR. I mean, he's put up. I've had him for a while because I think I've talked about it almost on every podcast. But I've had Cole Beasley since like week 4, and I've played him as my wide receiver too since then, basically. Yeah. And he's only had one game, only a couple games under 10 points.
I mean, you're never like really disappointed by what he gets you, right?
Yeah, like every week it projects like 8, and then he ends up getting like 12, 11. So yeah, I mean, I think that's Cole Beasley is definitely somebody. If you're in a pinch for wide receiver, especially PPR wise, for sure go for it. Throw him in your lineup.
Yeah, it's 7. Some numbers on Cole Beasley. 7 of, I think I don't know if it's the last 11 games. I just have 7 out of 11 here, but 7 of, I guess, the last 11 games, he's had 10 or more PPR points. Like you said, kind of like that safe floor.
Yeah,
and he's had a touchdown in 4 of his last 6 games. So starting to kind of like, Josh Allen is starting to like find him when they get close because he doesn't really catch these deep touchdowns. It's usually like, short. Red zone touchdowns.
He's like Josh Allen's Julian Edelman. He's kind of turning into that.
It's a good analogy. That.
He's like whereas John Brown's kind of like his deeper threat. Maybe for sure. I love Cole Beasley.
Yeah. We got
rapper too.
Yeah, the Beasley rapper. Yeah, I've never heard it. You heard any of his rap songs?
Yeah, I listened. Because it came up. It was trending on like Apple Music, his album, and I was like, Cole Beasley. I was like, what the fuck? I started playing some of it. It's all right. I mean, it's not. It's like nothing to write home about. If your buddy at work was like, hey, dude, I got an album, and he showed you it, and it was like all the same songs that Cole Beasley had, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's all right, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, I feel like people really listen to it because he's kind of famous.
Yeah.
So
it's Cole fucking Beasley, bro.
I feel it.
Another guy here, you got D.D. Westbrook. kind of came alive this last week with Nick Foles. I forget exactly what he had, maybe like 8 catches. I know the yardage wasn't as high as you would like it, but like 8, 9 catches, like 50, 60 yards, somewhere around there. I think he got you like 15 PPR points, something like that. But he's 40% available, and just some numbers on D.D. Westbrook right here. The Jaguar wide receivers, and this is good for if you're a DJ Chark owner as well, but the Jaguar wide receivers have the 4th easiest remaining schedule for wide receivers, so just juicy matchups right here. DJ Chark's going to be definitely helping win some people their championships because that guy's just been on fire. I know this last week he didn't have a good game, but in the next 4 games, weeks 13, 14, 15, 16, 3 of those 4 are green-rated matchups. So next week they're at home against Tampa Bay. That's a money matchup. Then next week they're home against the Chargers. That's actually a bad matchup. But then weeks 15, 16, they're at Oakland and at Atlanta. Green matchups in both of those as well. So good signs for DJ Chark and D.D. Westbrook. I mean, especially if you're in a PPR league, I think D.D. Westbrook could be a sneaky guy where, like you said, maybe he just gets you 10 to 12 points each week. But, I mean, sometimes it's like if you're in a pinch and you just need a player to throw out there. I mean, say you're stacked across the board. Say you got Lamar Jackson. You got some good running backs. You got a good tight end. You're struggling at a receiver, and you're just like, man, I just need a receiver just to not give me a 0. Who can I throw in my lineup? Like a Cole Beasley, a D.D. Westbrook, a Devontae Parker. These are guys you can just throw in there, and you're going to get your 10 points and just so you don't put up a goose egg.
For sure. Oh man, you're so smart, dude. Can I pay you? Can you just run my fantasy team?
I do, and I don't even get paid, so you don't have to pay me. Just a couple guys right here, too. You got Will Fuller. He's 35% available. He's coming off a monster game. And then you got Robbie Anderson. He's 55% available. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying go get these guys and throw them in your lineup, but if they're out there, and like I said, they are 35% for Will Fuller, 55% for Robbie Anderson, I'm going to grab these guys, and I'm just throwing them on my bench because I don't want them to throw up a 30-burger on me in the playoffs because someone's going to pick them up and play them against you.
Would you rather – okay, this is a question, though. What would you rather have – one of those guys on your bench, or would you rather have these handcuffs on your bench? Would you rather have a Wayne Gallman or like one of these guys on your bench?
I mean, that's tough because you kind of want the handcuff. I was going to say, actually, for running backs, you should start grabbing the handcuffs to your guy, like a Madison or a Gallman, for instance. But, I mean, there's got to be a player on your team that you have on your bench that, like, he's just there every week and you're just like, oh, I'm never going to play him. But, like, you just hold on to him. Maybe he's, like, on your personal favorite team,
Right.
Maybe you just hold on to him because, like, you're a fan of that team or that player, and you're just like, oh, I'm just going to hold on to him, blah, blah, blah. But, like, I would rather go get these guys, Will Fuller, Robbie Anderson, because these are home run guys. These are guys who can throw up a 20, 25, 30-point game any given week, and I'd rather have those guys on my bench putting up 30 points instead of, now I'm in the semifinals trying to make it to the finals in the fantasy playoffs, and I lose because Robbie Anderson scores 35 points or something stupid.
Yeah.
Like he goes off for 7 catches, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and I lose by 5 points because Robbie Anderson had this monster
out of nowhere.
Game. So it's just, I don't know. It's just like a strategic standpoint from it. Like this is where I say, like, don't get too complacent of, are they gonna go like my team's stacked, I'm good? Because I mean, I've seen so many times where the 1 seed loses in the first round, or the they're coming out after that first round bye and they lose in the semifinals. They get complacent and. It's fantasy football. Anything can happen. So
yeah, for sure. What do you think? AJ Brown, 16% owned.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that's I definitely think, especially with Ryan Tannehill doing better, you definitely have to put AJ Brown on your bench at least.
For sure, yeah. Actually, I kind of humble brag right here, but I was in a pinch. I had Michael Gallup in my lineup. Tough matchup, but I woke up in the morning. I was looking at some reports, and it said it was just dumping rain the whole time. And I'm like, all right, it's already a bad matchup as it is. Now it's just pouring rain. Like, I'm definitely not playing this guy. Who can I get? So I was actually playing Ryan Tannehill, and I'm just thinking, well, if I believe in Tannehill, the one of these guys is going to have a good game.
Yeah.
It's either going to be Corey Davis or A.J. Brown. I mean, luckily for me, I chose A.J. Brown, threw him in my lineup, and I showed you the score today. I won by half a point.
Yeah.
And it's because I had Tannehill and A.J. Brown just put up monster games for me. If I didn't stack those guys, I would have lost for sure. But just the reason why I chose A.J. Brown over Corey Davis was, since Tannehill's been there in the games, A.J. Brown's played with Corey Davis on the field. He had 12, 9, and 12. This is PPR points. Then the fourth game, there was no Corey Davis. You're thinking like, okay, maybe, this is even better for A.J. Brown. He should get all the targets. He doesn't have to compete with Corey Davis, but he put up a dud. I think he had like one catch for 19 yards or something stupid like that. Terrible. This week comes back, gets you 23 PPR points. So it kind of seems like with Corey Davis on the field, it actually helps A.J. Brown, because you get that number one corner from the opposing team kind of focusing on Corey Davis.
For sure.
And you get A.J. Brown kind of working against these second tier.
And A.J. Brown's a pretty big guy, so him going up against some of these corners, it's just like it's not even fair.
Yeah.
And
we touched on it too, actually. I think in the matchup episode, Anthony was saying like don't play him, and I was like I like it, and you were even saying you had him in one of your lineups.
Yeah,
and,
I had him in.
I think we dropped a stat where in terms of the most yards after the catch, so like you catch the ball and then how many yards you run after the catch. He was tied fourth in the NFL for the most yards after the catch. And I was actually watching some highlights today on him in this last game, and he had like a 65-yard touchdown or something like that. So like I don't know, when I see 65-yard touchdown, I always think like you threw a bomb, like a 60-yard bomb to the guy, but it wasn't. He ran like a 10 to 15-yard out, caught it, and then he just ran by everybody else. So that's that yak right there. He's getting that yak right there. So I like it, but like I said, just some more numbers on A.J. Brown. I do like him. 6th easiest schedule for the wide receivers. They get Indianapolis this week coming up, so that's not a bad matchup. And then weeks 14 and 15 at Oakland and home against Houston. Those are both green-rated matchups as well. So, I would feel comfortable playing him. It's like I said, if you're in a 3-wide receiver league, I wouldn't be mad at throwing him in there. Or, even one of my leagues, I'm struggling at receiver. I've just been streaming receivers all year long. And I think I'm just going to, I'm sold on Tannehill. I think I'm just going to buy into the A.J. Brown hype, and he'll probably just be in my lineup each and every week from here on out with the matchups going forward.
Did I perfectly execute that?
Dude, you did, dude.
Oh,
it only took you 12 weeks, dude, but I'm proud of you.
Thank you. You know what? I take that. Some people might think that you were being kind of sarcastic there, but I'm going to take that at face value. That was a true compliment.
Dude, yeah. You're good, dude.
Thank you.
Send it. No flub.
Let's continue to.
Bend the wire!
Let's do it. Let's continue. Do you like Russell Gage?
I'm not really sold on Russell Gage. I know he had a good game this week. I forget what it was, like 8 catches for 80 yards or something stupid like that. But I don't know. I'm just not sold on it. I think he's an NFL player. He's a professional football player. Of course, he's going to have a good game here and there. But would I feel comfortable going forward? I don't know if I could feel comfortable with the third passing option with how Matt Ryan's playing right now.
This is why I don't like it. Look at this. Look at these next 3 games. Saints, Carolina, San Francisco.
Yeah, that's not very good. That's not horny.
Carolina's pass defense is decent.
Pass defense is decent. The run defense is not
good.
Very good. But
different.
Yeah. Same.
Same, but different.
I just think Matt Ryan hasn't really been playing that good. Even like this last week, the matchup was money, at home, against the Buccaneers who've just been giving it up to quarterbacks. They've been giving up points to wide receivers. When you have guys like Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, like how can you not get it done when you're at home? So I'm just nervous for that. And then also once Austin Hooper comes back, that just means that now Russell Gage is now the 4th option in the passing attack. It probably goes like Julio Jones, Austin Hooper, Calvin Ridley, then Russell Gage.
Right.
So, yeah, I just don't feel comfortable with
He's
him.
just too far down the totem pole for sure.
Yeah.
By the way, I know we don't really ever talk about kickers, but I will say Zane Gonzalez is pretty owned in most leagues, and he's been pretty fucking consistent as consistent as a kicker can be.
Yeah.
And they just had a bye this past week, and like I was in a situation in 2 leagues where I was like, I don't want to drop anybody else, so I ended up dropping Zane Gonzalez. So if you have a shit kicker, go see if he's there. He might be there. You never know.
Also, just another kicker thing I noticed, too, is that the Nick Folk, he's the kicker for the Patriots now. So, Gostkowski, he's on IR. And then they went out and signed. I can't even remember who they signed. But they signed a different kicker. But then after 2 games, they cut him. And they signed Nick Folk. So, any kicker that's tied to the Patriots offense, I'd rather have that kicker on my team. Unless I have like a Lutz or like a Justin Tucker, one of these,
monsters.
Elite kickers or whatever.
But, okay. Before Lamar Jackson, Justin Tucker was like the main offensive guy on the Ravens for a little bit.
He really was, huh?
Let's talk about some tight ends. Who's your tight end this week?
I guess Probably Jack Doyle. He's 55% available. So Eric Ebron, he's headed to the IR. It's something with his ankle. I think he actually hurt both of his ankles. But so Jack Doyle's 55% available. He was sharing those targets and those snaps with Eric Ebron, even though I think he was getting more snaps and more targets and kind of more red zone looks than Eric Ebron was. But just know Eric Ebron now, that kind of just opens up the door for him to get like all of those, if not majority of them. So I like Jack Doyle this week. I mean, if you're struggling at tight end, I mean, not even just this week, I like Jack Doyle for the rest of the year. I mean, we've seen Jacoby Brissett kind of, hit him, a couple good games down the stretch. I think a couple touchdowns last couple of weeks. So, yeah, Jack Doyle, 55% available.
I like it.
He'd be my main one. Then you got Gerald Everett here. He's 30% available. The only reason why I like Gerald Everett here, and I know golf looks terrible, but he's playing against the Arizona Cardinals this week.
Yeah.
And what do we know about the Cardinals?
They gave O.J. Howard a good game.
Gave O.J.
And that's all you need to know. If O.J. Howard, who's been the worst bust in fucking this year, I think.
Yeah.
If he's putting up something against the Cardinals, that's awesome.
The Cardinals are having let's say, like Lamar Jackson's having a historic year for a quarterback. The Arizona Cardinals defense, in terms of giving up points to the tight end position,
is historic.
It's historic.
Yeah.
It's on that level of like they're just giving it up. So just some numbers on Gerald every year. He's actually had 10 or more targets in 3 of the last 6 games. And now I know Brandon Cooks has been out for a couple games, and even like Robert Woods was out last week. But when the stars align for a money matchup, sometimes you just got to send it.
Yeah.
No flub.
Speaking of playing Arizona, this guy, David Njoku, he plays Pittsburgh, kind of rough this week. Steelers defense is pretty good. And but then he plays Bengals, then he plays the Arizona Cardinals. Week 15, semifinals. That's a tight end I want to have, is going against the Cardinals. And actually, David Njoku and Baker Mayfield actually have a pretty good rapport. I think they got drafted the same year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last year. No, he was there the year before.
He was there, but still, like, the good rapport. Like
yeah, he was kind of like their go-to guy. We always talk about that. Inexperienced quarterbacks a lot of times rely on their tight end, and he kind of established that relationship with him. So that's, if you're hurting on tight end, or maybe he might be a good stash just to throw in there, even if you have like a fucking Travis Kelce or something, just in case something happens,
Yeah. David Njoku's 80% available. I mean, maybe if you're like struggling at tight end, you literally just have nobody. Maybe you go out, you grab a Gerald Everett this week, play him against Arizona. You grab Njoku too, you stash him, and then next week or 2 weeks from now, you play Njoku against the Cardinals. So, I think it's like I think Anthony brought up this stat, but it's like if you were to just take all the tight ends who have played against the Arizona Cardinals and you added up all those points, they would be the number one tight end in fantasy football.
For sure. Yeah.
I think what we're trying to say is start your tight ends against the Cardinals.
The only problem is when you run into is like when George Kittle plays the Cardinals, it's like you can't stream George Kittle.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Just a couple of the tight ends here. You got Ryan Griffin from the New York Jets, 75% available. Just numbers on him here. He's had 10 or more PPR points in 5 of his last 7 games. And then 3 of the last 4 games for the Jets and the tight end position. These are actually good matchups. He's at Cincinnati, home against Miami. You like those. Then at Baltimore, that one's kind of tough. And then home against Pittsburgh. And even though as good as Pittsburgh's been attacking them through the tight end position, they've actually been susceptible to that. So Ryan Griffin, I like him. It seems like, when they get in the red zone, he's a guy that Sam Darnold's been leaning on. Another red zone guy, and you got Kyle Rudolph, 62% available. 11 or more PPR points in 4 of his last 5 games. And then 2 of the last 4 games for Kyle Rudolph are going to be green-rated matchups. And he actually has 5 touchdowns in the last 5 games. And I know that's going to a lot to do with Thielen not being there, but it seems like they're getting him more incorporated into like the red zone area.
Right.
So, and Kirk Cousins has been playing. I mean, I know Lamar Jackson has been playing MVP football, but I mean, Kirk Cousins has been playing some pretty good football as well.
Yeah, the problem is he's kind of like peaks and valleys. You know what I mean? That's the hard part about Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, but Kirk Cousins. I mean,
but I agree. I've had him in fantasy multiple of years, and he's like a good guy to play with another good quarterback.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Or like half decent quarterback.
Yeah.
To switch off on matchups, but yeah.
Any other tight ends you like?
Besides you?
Oh.
Oh, getting a little
I'm not
homosexual
available,
in here.
I'm not available. I'm not on the waiver wire.
Oh, you're not?
No.
I
got picked up week 1.
I was
dude.
really trying to pad the wire.
I was week 1.
I was really trying to.
But Leroy, I'm bilingual. There's a difference.
Fucking send it in.
Here's the thing, dude. What we want to talk about some defenses or what?
You won't.
Defense. Defense. Have you ever seen that bowling meme where they're like the guy's like bowling and someone has a defense sign?
No.
Me neither. Okay.
Me neither.
Let's talk about defense, baby. Ooh, look at that. New York Jets
Some streaming defenses here. New York Jets.
playing Cincinnati this week. They just destroyed the Raiders.
Yeah.
Playing the Bengals this week, then they play Miami, but they play Baltimore after that. So that's pretty good, though. I like that.
Yeah, it could be a good 2-week stretch here if you're just streaming defenses. Like Mike said, at Cincinnati, and then the week after that, they're at home against Miami. I know Miami beat them in Miami, but I'm nervous for that game for the Dolphins. Fitzpatrick.
You're worried he might not make the playoffs?
Going to be Pickpatrick.
Oh yeah.
That game, that defensive line for the Jets is pretty good. You can't really run on them, so he's going to have to throw the ball a ton. So it's probably a bunch of sacks, a couple picks. You never know, maybe a pick six. It's like a revenge game, because Miami beat them at home in Miami earlier the year. So yeah, I like the Jets. 75% available.
Yeah, they're up there.
They're up there.
How about what do you think about? Do you like the Panthers against Washington?
I do. Panthers are 62% available. They're at home, going to play against Dwayne Haskins. And I don't know what the Lions did this week for you. I know you're high on the Lions.
They did okay. They did have a fumble recovery right at the beginning, and I was super excited. But they ended up. By the way, I picked up the Ravens defense. Someone dropped them against the Texans. They've just been killing it. Hold on. I think they put up 9 points. They had an interception and a fumble recovery, so
it's not bad. I feel like defense gets you 9 points in like an ESPN standard league. I know Anthony would say too, like this defensive scorings are all over the fucking place, but I feel like in basic ESPN standard scoring, like 9 points is good.
Yeah. So Carolina's defense is not bad. It did seem like Dwayne Haskins did have it click a little bit better, but when you got a backup quarterback in, they're going to be turning the ball over fast. Yeah. The Redskins are going to end up getting the ball.
Yeah, we'll see how he does on the road in Carolina compared to being at home.
Right.
Also, I saw a stat today. It was like the offensive touchdowns for the Redskins in the last 7 or 10 games or something like that. And it was like 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 0, 2, 1. They haven't scored more than 2 touchdowns all year or something like that. Something stupid. So that's not good. Defense I actually like. You got the Jags. They're 33% available. They're going to be at home against the Jameis Winston Buccaneers. So I know Jameis can throw 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he's going to give you those 3 picks and 3 sacks along with it.
He's gonna throw for the most. Right now, he's gonna throw for the most touchdowns in a year. They think. Yeah. Well, Lamar Jackson probably threw a wrench in that today, but most touchdowns and most interceptions.
Most touchdowns and most interceptions.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, I think Lamar Jackson might, because he just fucking threw 4 and ran one.
Jameis is like, hold my beer.
Yeah. So, but right now before that, I think he was aimed to throw the most interceptions and the most touchdowns, which is, it just seems like Jameis Winston is the last gunslinging quarterback. I feel like, besides Aaron Rodgers is too. But
I love those memes where he's it's like him, his eyes closed. He's like, fuck
it, Mike Evans somewhere out there.
Chris Godwin's gotta be over there somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, he really has done that. We've talked about it a couple times on here. It's I've watched him at a complete horizontal, almost at a fucking ridiculous angle, and then he threw it up and threw an interception. It's dude, why are you trying to make a fucking throw right there?
I mean, at home against Saxonville. Saxonville's at home against him, so I can see some sacks, a couple picks. Pick 6, always opportunity right there
for sure.
I kind of like the Chargers, too. They're 67% available. They're going to be traveling. It's a division game, but they're going to Denver. Going to play the Broncos. But Chargers coming off a bye. I mean, you got Joey Bosa, one of the Bosa boys. He's a monster. Melvin Ingram, good. He's got good corners like Desmond King, Casey Hayward. Those are good corners. And they're also getting their all-pro safety, Derwin James, back. He's set to make his season debut. He broke his ankle or did something to his ankle in the preseason. So he had to have surgery on it. He's been out the whole year. But he was a rookie last year, and he made the all-pro team. So they're supposed to get him back as well. It's only going to boost the defense for them. And then, you're playing against Denver, who, outside of Cortland Sutton, who do you have? You got Noah Kant.
Yeah.
What other receiving options you got there? And you got a backup quarterback, Brandon Allen. They're talking about Drew Lock might even make his season, get in there too. So even better if Drew Lock gets in there because he really hasn't seen any kind of game action. So
right.
Yeah, I like the Chargers this week. 67% available.
What do you think that over/under is, if you had to guess? Unless you saw it earlier.
I don't know. Them 42.
38.5.
38.5.
That's pretty low over/under.
Pretty low. So
that looks like a defensive game if you just look at that over/under. So yeah, I'm cool with that too.
Yeah,
I like that. It is a division game. So if you're like, oh, the Chargers are going to dominate.
Coming off a bye though, I always like when teams come off byes. I guess it doesn't necessarily happen for every team, but they're like an above average team coming off a bye. It is a division opponent, so they're used to them, and like I said, they've had 2 weeks to prepare, getting their all-pro safety back. Yeah, I like the Chargers. That's what I'm trying to say.
There we go. Anything else you want to touch on?
Just a big old booty.
Just a big old booty and little boys. Wait, what?
No, not the second one.
I was like, oh, say less.
Listen, dude.
The testosterone high today.
It truly was high today. The testosterone was so high today.
I like it. I fucking like it.
Thank you for listening to the Average Bros Fantasy Football Podcast. That's all we got for you. Me and Tyler. We just gave you the secret, the key to.
Might as well call us DJ Khaled because we just gave you the keys.
What was that? I was just thinking about that. What did he used to say?
I don't know.
He's like, that's the key. No, that's what he would do. He'd be like, that's the key. That's the essence. Said some shit like that. It's so ridiculous. But we just gave you the best idea or best advice for your waiver wire pickups. Hopefully we were able to help you. Hopefully you're doing well if you're listening to this podcast. If you're doing well and you're listening to this podcast, or at least just fucking let us know. We want to hear the stories. Like, we have some people, we give them advice. They don't listen sometimes. They come back and they're like, okay, I'm going to listen again, But yeah, let us know. Let us know your stories. Let us know if you have like bad beats. Hit us up on Instagram at @AverageBros_fantasy football. Yeah, exactly. Follow us on there. Give us a what's it called? A rate and review on the Apple Podcasts app. If you want to subscribe to us on YouTube, do it. Go to our YouTube page. Average Bros Fantasy Football. Just look on YouTube. It should pop right up. And subscribe there. We have full videos for all of our audio podcasts are on video too. So they're up there. And we just post a lot of content on there. Now, that's all I got for you. Thank you for listening. Us little boys are out. Okay?
Bye.
Bye.